Hi there. Today we are going to build an entire eBlast using Foundation for Email from scratch. So this is going to be the completed eBlast that we design using just Foundation for email. So for the images that we're using for this, all these images have come from Unsplash. So you can see that these are some of the source for the image for these emails that we are going to be using. They're going to be provided to you in the Blackboard folder, so that images folder is going to be provided for you automatically. So to get started, if you don't already have it, you can go ahead and jump onto foundation.zurb.com/emails. And this is going to be where you're going to go ahead and get that starter pack to get started. So when you log on here, click that big old Get Started button. You're going to, for this video, we're using the CSS version. So you're going to download that CSS starter kit. Go ahead and click download. It's going to pop up in your downloads folder. So once I have that downloaded, it's going to give me a zip file here in my downloads folder. I'm just going to double click to unzip that so I can see in that basic starter kit that I get the CSS. There's the Foundation for Email CSS default drive, and I have all these templates pre-built for me. We're not going to use those. We're going to start with that blank index.html for these purposes. So I'm not even going to copy this over. I'm going to go ahead and take this, drag it onto my desktop, and I'm going to use this as my starter file. So you can either rename this for your project, or you can duplicate it all over. I'm going to rename this as eBlast project. And then within that eBlast project, if I look in here, I've got the CSS, I have that basic index.html. I'm just going to go ahead and delete those templates because I don't need them for this. And then you guys are going to grab that images folder off of Blackboard and are going to copy all that over into this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that images folder. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it into my project here. So I've got, here's all my images, here's that hero image, got my social media icons, I've got my logo, and some of the other pictures that we're going to be using for this. So then I'm going to take my index.html, and I'm going to open that up in brackets. So there we go. Now I've got that basic template that we've been working from already, and I'm ready to go ahead and start creating my new eBlast. So the first thing I'm going to do is, working within that center and center tag, I'm going to create the container that's going to hold everything. Because if you remember the basic template that all eBlasts have to go in, is everything has to sit into a container. So I'm going to go ahead and create the table tag. I'm going to align it center. And I'm going to give it the class of container. Now within that table tag, up nicely here, I'm going to obviously create my table row. And then within that table row, I'll create my table data tag. So this is going to kind of be the place in which everything in this eBlast is going to sit. So inside that table data tag, I'm going to create another table, and I'm going to create my first row. I'm going to give that a class of row. And I'm going to create my table row, and then my table head tag. All right, so within that table head tag, I'm now going to create my first headline row. So that headline row with the logo in it, I'm going to simply source out, so working within this table head tag, I'm going to insert my image. So I have my IMG tag source. That should, since we already set up that root folder for ourselves, I can automatically find that images folder. Within that images folder, I'm going to locate hero.jpg. And I want to go ahead and give it some of the basics. So anytime you place an image, you absolutely want to make sure you're going to use that alt tag, which displays text in the event that the images get blocked in your email client. So I'm just going to say clothing company logo. And I'm going to go ahead and define a size because this logo is fairly high. So I'm going to just set the width to 150 pixels and the height is going to go to 150 pixels there. And then after this, after our image, I'm going to insert an H1 tag, and I'm going to have our call to action, which is shop our semi-annual sale. Then I'm going to save this. I'm going to go ahead and test this. Oops, this was supposed to be logo, not hero. Logo, not hero. JPEG, there we go. Got the wrong one. So there's our logo, clothing store online, and there is our H1 tag. Looks great. So now we're going to add the following inline style to the H1 tag just to center this. By default, it's left aligned. I want to make it a softer gray. I'm using kind of that secondary gray color, that 50% gray color, and make it centered. So within the H1 tag, I'm going to add that inline style and say text align is center, semicolon, and then I'm going to say the color is dark slate gray. Dark slate gray, and save that. There we go, that's centered, and now it's a nice dark gray. Looks good. Now that we've created the headline row, we're going to go ahead and start with that menu row. So after the ending table row tag for the headline menu, so right after this, but still working within that row, I'm going to simply create a new row. So, and I'm going to give it a new nested table. So there's a table, and it's going to have the class of menu, small, typo, small, vertical. So what that class means is that it has a class of menu, so it's going to act as a menu item, and then at the small responsive size, that menu is going to turn into a vertical menu as opposed to a horizontal menu. By default, they are horizontal, so that's saying just at the small size become vertical. I'm going to create my new table row. Within that table row, I say on my table data tag, and I'm going to nest a new table within there. So creating the table, going to align it center. That table's aligned center. New table row. New table head tag. You know, it's a lot of nested tables here. Clean that up a little bit. There we go. So now within this table head tag, I'm going to create my first menu item. So it will read as table head with a class of menu item. And then inside there is I'm going to create my A tag, href, remembering that you have to place something in this href tag. You can't just leave it blank like this. If it's blank, these do not get rendered out by an e-reader, they get blocked. So you must either have an actual link to something or that placeholder # inside there. And I'm going to call this new releases. So that's my first entry. So rather than having to code this again several more times, I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole little table head tag with the link inside of it. So I'm going to copy that. After the end of the first one, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to paste again. So there you can see that I have 3 links that are going to make up my menu. And then I just need to change the copy that is written here. So the next one that I've got is going to be shop. So I'm going to change this one to read shop. And then this one is going to read sale. Save that. And you can see that pops up in this nice menu. Let's go ahead and test and see that at the small size, there it goes. And it becomes a vertical menu as opposed to a horizontal menu on a larger size device. So that responsiveness is working. So let's do just a little bit more styling to these. I wanted a little bit more space in between these links. I feel like with a shorter menu, they're kind of close together. So for my particular design, I wanted them a little more spaced out. So I'm going to add some padding to those. So within my first menu item for new releases, I'm going to go ahead and give that a style. So after my menu item, I'm going to go ahead and say style and equal that to padding left is 50 pixels, semicolon. Padding right is also 50 pixels, semicolon. So that's just going to, you see that gives it a little, pushes out left and right, there's extra padding. And now I'm going to repeat that and use that on the next 2 menu items. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight and just copy that little bit of a style tag. So I'm going to copy that. And then within my next menu item here, I'm going to paste that in and then paste it in on the third one. Save that, and you see that just space that out. And I think that looks a little bit nicer to have that extra space in between those menu items. So that's looking good. Next step is to go ahead and create the hero image, which is that largest image for our eBlast. So after the end of the menu table tag, so here's the, I'm going to locate that. Maybe I'll comment that out for myself. End of menu, just to keep myself organized here. Working in here, I'm just going to insert an image. I'm not going to place it within a table because I want it to go more full screen or the full width of the eBlast. So I'm just going to insert my image tag, src equals images, and then I'm going to find that hero image, and I'm going to give that a style tag in here with a margin bottom of 25 pixels, just to give it a little bit of space after the bottom of this. So it's going to have 25 pixels at the end of it. And that tag, save that, and there you can see, here's my hero image taking up the full space, and then the 25 pixels margin along the bottom of that. That looks really good. I also need to make sure I put in an alt tag as well. So I'm just going to alt tag hero image. Looks good. All right. So now that I've got that, I'm going to create my first promo section. So after the hero image, I'm going to create a new table row for the promo section. So right after that, creating a new table. This has a class of row. I'm going to create my new table row, open that up. And within here, I'm going to create my new table head section. And this table head is going to have a class of small 12, large 6, first columns. So what those classes really mean is at the small size, this promo section is going to take up the entire width of the eBlast, and at the large size, they're going to nest 2 columns next to each other. So because 6 and 6 is 12, so that way I'm going to have 2 promo images sitting side by side when I work this way. So now that I've got that, inside this table head tag, I'm going to go ahead and place my content. So I'm going to place my first image. So image, src, going into my images folder, and I'm going to look for promo1.jpg. There it is. I'm going to give it the alt tag of photo of folded shirts. Go. And then I'm going to add in my H3 tag, so my headline 3, that simply says promo 1. If this was a real eBlast, you would obviously have real content here. Then after this, I'm going to place in my paragraph tag, and that's just going to read some generic placeholder copy that says promo paragraph here. Something good about the content here. I'd send that over to my copywriter, obviously, and have them do something else. So to avoid getting a little orphan when on different breakpoints, I'm going to go ahead and put in a non-breaking space in between the last 2 words. That way, no matter what the size is, they stay together, just so I don't get any awkward typography. So the to put in a non-breaking space, it's simply ampersand NB, NBSP, non-breaking space. There we go. And when I save that, then I can see that all lines up like that. So far, so good. It will get fixed once we put in the next version, because right now there's nothing next to it. All right, so underneath this copy, I want to go ahead and put in a button, so that way if I actually had a certain special or something, people could go and click on that link. So I'm going to create a button underneath the copy by nesting a table that contains the button tags. So after this ending paragraph here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new table. It's going to have a class of button, radius, secondary. Now that secondary is a contextual class that is built within Foundation. Secondary means that it's going to automatically be colored gray. If you read through some of the documentation for Foundation for emails, it has in those built-in contextual classes. So that way it's kind of already adding the color that I want to it. Then I'll create my table row, table data. Then within there, I'm going to go ahead and nest another table, table row, table data, and I'm going to create my a tag a href is equal to placing in my placeholder ampersand here. I'm going to write learn more. Save that. And there's my learn more button right there. So that all looks really good. I've got my promo image, I've got my promo headline, I've got my promo body tag, and then I've got a button that ideally, if this was for a real company, it would go to a link on their site. So that all looks really good. Now, rather than, this gets to be some beefy HTML after a while, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate everything I've written for the second chunk of the promo, the next image, and everything that's nested next to it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy everything from this first table head tag to that ending table head tag. So I'm going to grab that whole table head here, and I'm going to copy it. And right after this ending table head, I'm going to create another one, or just paste it in. So now that I've pasted that in, I really just need to change up a couple items here to make that second promo section. So we'll just go down the line. So with the table head, class small 12, large 6, that's all good, except instead of first, I want it to read last. So that way I know it's going to float to the right. Instead of promo image promo1.jpg, this is going to be promo2.jpg. I'm going to change that alt text so that it's more of what the image is about. So now it's going to be photo of shirts in basket. So photo of shirts in basket. So that'll show up in case the image gets blocked. Promo 1 is now promo 2. I go ahead and save that. And now I can see that updated, and now I've got 2 images. They automatically sized for me, promo 1, promo 2, and that looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and test that on my mobile responsiveness, and I can see right there when it pops into that smaller size, my menu is now going vertical, and now these images are taking up the full 12 column width in that mobile size. All right, so the next section of creating our eBlast is to do the additional information section. So I'm going to go down to after the end of this promo row, but still working within our container. I'm going to create a new table, and I'm going to get the class of row. So within there, I'm going to create my table row. And in there, I'm going to create my table head tag, and that's going to have the class of large offset 1. So at the large size, this is going to have a 1 column offset. Small is 12, and large is 3. So at the large size, this is going to take up 3 columns, and it's going to go first, so it will be on that left side. Then within there, we are going to create another, within this table head tag area, we're going to nest another table. Move that back so it's nested. There we go. And I'm going to create my table. Create my table row and my table head tag. And then within this, down here within this table head tag, I'm going to go ahead and insert the image for this section. So I'll bring in my IMG. I'm going to give it the class of small float center. So at that small size, it's going to float in the center. Source my image here for my images folder, locating that additional image, additional info.jpg, and then going to give that an alt tag here just in case the images get blocked. So that's just clothes on hangers. Go. So then after this ending, after the ending table head row with the row class, so after this one here, so this one with the class, after that ending table head tag, I'm going to create another nested table. Create my table row, and then my table head tag. And then within here, I'm going to go ahead and insert the content. So I'm going to create an H4 tag, and that's going to have a class of small text center. So at the small size, this text is going to center. The large size, it'll be left aligned, and it'll say, here's a great deal. And then after the end of that tag, I'm going to create a new paragraph tag, and that will also have the class of small text center. And I'm just going to write in some kind of basic copy. So some amount of copy will go here, talking about the deal. Obviously in a real eBlast, you'd want to have real copy. So let me go ahead and save that. Okay, so this is what I've got going on right now. One last thing I forgot to do is I need to go ahead and wrap a table head section around this table that contains our text. So I'm going to go ahead and after this ending table head section for here, I need to kind of follow that same format and create a new table head section. This needs to have a class of small, 12, large, 8 columns last. So that way this will float to, this text will float to the right and this image will float to the left. So then I'm going to go ahead and cut that ending table head tag that goes with this, and I'm going to wrap that all the way around this table here. So this wraps around that table, and I'm going to save that. And there we go, that's appearing correctly. So I see this small image here with the text floating right next to it. All right, so for the last little bit here, we're going to create the row for our social media icons. So I'm going to navigate to the end of this last row that we made. So that ending table tag, I'm going to just work right after that. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new table, much like we've done for all the other sections. That'll have a class of row. Open that up, create my new table row and my new table head tag. And I'm also going to add in a background color for this table here. So I'm going to create my style tag here, just doing a little bit of inline styling, and set the background color to being gray. Yes. And for this little table head right here, I'm going to go ahead and give it a class of small 4, large 4 columns first. And then within that table head tag, I'm going to go ahead and nest inside there my table that's going to contain the actual icon itself. So create another table, create another table row, and then my table head tag. And within that table head tag, I'm going to create my href, put in my pound holder or pound placeholder link, and then within there I'm going to place my image, set the source, locating my images folder, and then I'm going to go ahead and locate the Snapchat brands.svg image in there, and I'm going to go ahead and style it up a little bit. So I'm going to set the class to being small float center, and adding a style tag. So I'll give it a bit of space around there. So I'm going to set the padding top to being 15 pixels, margin left to being 50 pixels, and margin right to being 50 pixels. And then I'm going to set the width to being 50 pixels and the height to 50 pixels as well. And then I'll go ahead and save that. And there I can see that brought in that social media icon for me. Okay, so I went ahead and updated the social media icon. It was black. I wanted it white, so I went ahead and opened that up and made sure that it was white. I changed that SVG in Illustrator. So now to get the other two social media icons in there, I'm going to go ahead and select the from the beginning table head tag with this class. So I'm going to just grab this whole thing here and select the beginning to the end of that table head, and I'm going to copy it. So after this ending table head tag, I'm going to paste in, and then I'm going to paste in one more and hit save. And there's my 3 there. So then my next step is to go ahead and adjust the link. So that second one is not going to be Snapchat again. It's going to be, I'm going to pop in the Instagram.svg. And then within the class for this one, I want to remove that first. It's not a first column anymore. It's just kind of, since it's a center column, it's not going to have that there. And then on this last one here, I'm going to go ahead and change this link as well. And that's now going to be Amazon. And I'm going to change that first to read last. I'm going to go ahead and save that and update them. There we go. That's looking really good. So I've got those. I also want to make sure that I add in my alt text for that link. So then my last thing to do is to put in an alt text on each of those images. So I'm going to put in my alt text for Snapchat as just being a link to Snapchat. I'm going to put in one here for my Instagram here. So I'm going to put in an alt text. So then I've got a link to Instagram. And then down here at the last one is going to have the alt text of link to Amazon. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and save that. It's not visually going to look any different, but that way if these icons get blocked, then you can still see what those links are. So the very last step on our eBlast is we're going to adjust this menu bar here so that the background is going to be gray and these link colors are going to be white, just so it kind of matches our footer row here with the social media icons and our buttons a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up within my code, and I'm going to locate that section again with the menu. So let me scroll all the way back up here. There it is, the class of table with the class of menu, small vertical. Within that, I'm going to add in a quick style tag and add in the background color. And I'm just going to make that a £636363, which is a gray. And you can see that that changes that to being that gray color. But I don't really like the way that those blue links look on that background color. So what I need to do to fix that is I need to work within the Foundation for Emails default CSS. It's kind of, I'm going to just go ahead and update those rules in there. So I'm going to, within brackets, I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to locate that Foundations for Emails here. I'm going to locate my CSS folder, and it's the foundation-emails.css. I'm going to go ahead and open that. Now that is some beefy code that you can look through. This contains all the styling that you by default see here. So if there's default styling that you really don't like, you want to adjust it, you can simply adjust it here. Yes, you can write new CSS in here as well. Sometimes that default styling gets a little bit tricky to override. So I'm going to scroll all the way down towards the, it's approximately line 1150, and locating some of the options for the menu here. So this is it. I can see here's the table.menu, and I can see that the link color right there is that blue. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, you know what, let's change that color to white. Save it. And there we go. That made those link colors white. So you're welcome to change any of these styles in here. It's always good to keep a default clean copy somewhere of the original foundation for email styles, but as you work in this, it's okay to adjust these as necessary. So there is our finished eBlast design. Here it is at the large size. Here it is at the mobile size. So you can see that that responds. That looks good. These all respond down. And these social media icons still, they stay fairly large and all in a row. And that looks really nice. So that is the end of our eBlast. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to get this all set up and sent via an email delivery client. And in our specific case, I'm going to show you how to work with MailChimp. So thank you for watching.